We have a full agenda for us today. I'm going to read off the agenda. I've been trying to put it out on tweets. Honestly, I like to share slides. Usually I do like webinar, but I know Twitter Spaces is a cool place to be. So today Mike Carson will be joining shortly. He's from Park, founder of Park.io and in Handshake World Impervious. Also is involved with the Gateway starting, so that'll be a great one. Chango will also be joining as a co-host. She's director at the DWeb Foundation and also very active in Cosmos and blockchain and Bitcoin early days, so it's really great that she'll be joining us later. And, you know, as far as the agenda, of course, talk about what different projects been building on Handshake that I've seen in the last few weeks. There's still, you know, a lot of things happening. Of course, we got some drama to just work out. I just thought, just basically open floor for that. Clay Collins is the owner of .c, says he'll share for about 5 or 10 minutes earlier on. He'll join. We'll also go through some questions we've been collecting from the community about there was a name-based employee issue. We'll just call it that. You know, just address that. There's also of course, the gateway and the name base and the registry and the registrar and a resolution. The last few days, there's been some exciting tweets that we'll share about that. Seems like there's been resolution, so that's a really good one. We'll share more details on that as we go on today. We're also going to do some user questions about how to get more exposure for HNS. A lot of people are frustrated seeing Web 5 and not enough for HNS. We'll talk about that. Of course, browser adoption updates. Seems like Opera browsers soon to update. They've been actively tweeting about it and talking about it at Consensus. You know, some other user questions is like, do we use this for browser adoption? Is this used for digital IDs? Of course, it can use for both. Which one should be the focus? Another user question is, some people think there should be like regulation in the registrar space of Handshake. Is there some solutions that we can do for that? So that'll be brought up. Again, we want this to be open floor, so people want to raise their hands to come up on stage, more than happy. So I'm just going through the agenda. We're just starting a little bit earlier. You know, it's supposed to start in about 7 minutes, so we'll technically start then. And then just go through, you know, about different things, like should there be more regulations in this Handshake registrar world. Obviously, it's very early stage. There's lots of opportunities. Some people have made some suggestions. Also, I want to share about some of the other registries I've been seeing, name-based, not name-based, but name-based with a D, without the E. He's partnering with the developer of Niami, Stefan, to make a sports registry. He's also been buying a lot of single emojis, also at supporting the Flamingo Handshake auctions, buying a lot there. Also, Pencil Domains. I don't know if Miguel will make it today, but I'll share a little bit what he's working on. You know, Sajin at Agamin. I've been working with him at the SkyInclude. We have a registrar we're debuting today. Connects Network. There's lots and lots of stuff to cover. So also we can collect your questions too. Awesome, Sulu, I see here. Okay, wow, good, great group of people. Also, and if you could help me, Pencil's here, nice. Stephen, oh, great. Yeah, if you could raise your hands if you'd like to say something, and Chango will be coming up on stage soon when she's here, and Mike Carson, awesome. Okay, people, anybody can just raise their hands. We'll of course want to share the stage, share the floor, and go through this. So I will ping Mike Carson. You know, we're 5 minutes early. I just thought I would just make sure technicalities are set up and everything's working. And you know, I have some questions to read from people that can't make it that want to make sure we discuss, and lots of fun stuff. I mean, it's just an exciting time. It's the builders market, right? Builders market. So. Yeah, and if you can help me ping Mike Carson and Chango, I will do that too. Just make sure they're here and get through all these points. So I think I'll start to talk about some of the updates I've seen in Handshake. Some amazing products from, you know, that's what has attracted many of us to Handshake, is just the distributed network, the decentralized community. There's the pros and the cons, but, you know, I've seen one developer came to me on Discord And he made shakedrop.com. I definitely want to make sure people are using that shakedrop.com. I'm not affiliated with it. It's just a developer made it and shared it to me. It's a faucet, right? So he's from the Bitcoin days, people couldn't get Bitcoin easily from exchanges or whatever. I think similar in Handshake, right? A lot of people can't get Handshake from for their Bob wallet, for their own on their own wallet to do trades and to do update names. So it's a free faucet where you just got to send out a tweet, and then you can get within 24 to 48 hours. It'll verify your tweet's been posted, and then it will share the HNS to your wallet that you submitted. So I've already been seeing people using that to get HNS coins if they couldn't got from an exchange. So it's already doing a great job. I think it's only been out for like a week. So that's something that is very recent that came out into the community. Another thing I've seen is Cosmos HNS or CHNS. I don't know if Angry Mouse is here or Thomas, but they made a Cosmos, again, I might use the wrong terminology, a Cosmos wrapped handshake coin. It is, just to be very clear, it is custodian right now. They are holding it, but then you can trade HNS on Cosmos. So a lot of people in the community I know are involved in Cosmos projects, such as myself, and it will allow you to either buy HNS, which is Cosmos HNS, or unwrap it to native HNS, and then you could send to your Bob wallet or Namebase or other wallets of supporting Handshake, and then of course buy names, trade names, register, redeem, etc. So that's just another way. I know liquidity has been an issue. A lot of people, I saw Handy OSS share a tweet about trying to buy HNS on Namebase and some liquidity. So we all know that there's liquidity challenges in Handshake for sure. So that's one point right there. That's getting resolved. So just those are a couple updates. One is Shake Drop Faucet, and Cosmos HNS is another. Also NamesCon. Is Noel in the audience right now? I'm looking for him. So Noel is amazing. Noel, he's runs .tx in Texas, or I call it transactions or .texas, and he's heading up the initiative to get Handshake represented at the NamesCon in Austin in I think late August, early September. So he's rounding up different influencers and different companies in the Handshake ecosystem to be represented at the NamesCon in-person conference. So when Noel comes, I'll invite him up on stage to share about that. But definitely, if you need me to help connect you with anybody for that, or connect you to Noel, Noel is super approachable, so don't be shy to talk to Noel. But hopefully, we'll get some more Handshake representation at the NamesCon in-person event in Austin, Texas, which will be amazing. So the Opera browser, actually, I see Steve here. Steve, I don't know. I'll send you an invite to come up. Just trying to share the stage here. It doesn't have to be on me. Invite to speak. I don't know if you want to share some of your updates. I saw your video. That was great at Opera browser at the consensus. While I'm waiting for him to accept that. Others could also ask questions. We have, about 7 or 8 questions from the community that I've been collecting. And, here we go. Cause I didn't recognize your profile photo. Invite to co-host. Okay, Chango's coming. Okay, pencil. Okay, I got a couple requests here. Great. Okay, I just invited Chango. Do you see the invite? Okay. Awesome, accepted. Hi, Chango, how are you?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for you're awesome. I mean, you're the pro at Interchain.fm podcast. You know, you do great things in the blockchain community and Cosmos and Handshake. So thanks for coming up here with me today.
Yeah. There's also Andrew's here as well, and Min too. So
Yeah,
make it more.
yeah. I mean, again, the stage is open. I'll send him an invite. And yeah, we got a great group of people here. Oh, Mike is here. Mike Carson. I'm gonna send him an invite. No. Yeah, we're right on time. I started like 5-10 minutes early just to try to get people prepared and make sure the technical things are set up. Okay, so we're right on time. And send invite to Andrew as well as Steve as well as Mike Carson. Seems like Mike just accepted. Hey Mike, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine. Awesome. Thanks again. Yeah, thanks again for coming up here with us today. And I know the community's been asking maybe you and me and others to do this. I think it's good. We just put things out into the, the point of this call is just we should do these more often all the time, but I think especially in today's environment, it's good to be transparent, in my opinion. I think you too, to share what's been happening and answer questions from the community. So thanks for that, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for doing this.
Sure. So there is a lot of different things on our agenda, and we've collected questions. I don't think this is going to be a Handshake 101 Twitter space. It'll be a little bit more like, I guess we're going to assume people listening know the idea of Handshake, although I think maybe it's worth just bringing up what it is, in our opinion, how we define Handshake. We all have our own ways of saying that. Oh, Clay's here too. Great. Clay, add a speaker. Okay. Clay also has got a few things he wants to share. Maybe we'll do that just to kick off. Clay, I'm also trying my best to be an expert at Twitter Spaces. Oh, here he is. Hey, Clay, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for putting this together. I really appreciate everything you do in terms of content for the space.
Oh, thanks, Clay. Yeah, I'm trying. Again, I'm just a director, a community member like everybody. I did a video recently where I said that's the beautiful thing about Handshake. Anybody that owns a name or a coin has the responsibility, like Spider-Man, to to share the word and help. So Clay, you're the founder of nomics.com, which is a top exchange, crypto exchange aggregator is what I would define it as, data tool. And you're also the owner of .c and some other amazing Handshake TLDs. So I think we can kick it off with you just starting, because I know you have limited time and you wanted to share a few things. Do you want to just start things off?
Yeah. So, oh man, I'm getting some heavy echo.
Okay. I will mute mine. I'll mute mine.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. So hopefully I'm coming through and everyone can hear me and that I won't cut out. Let me know if I do. So yeah, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the things that have been happening recently and my viewpoint on them as it relates to second level domains. I guess my interest in this is as the owner of .c and .one and .zin and a few others, .yolo. I think that one person bought a .yolo domain. But I kind of wanted to speak to kind of what's been happening and my perspective on it. So I guess point number one, who am I? I own .c, which up until Namebase released that they had sold like over 10,000 .p domains. I think .c and .1 were the 1 and 2 best-selling SLDs in the space. I don't know if that's the case anymore. But I get a lot of questions about .c domains over Twitter. And I think I wanted to address what TLD owners control, and that is that TLD owners control nothing, right? So registrars sell the domains, registers log ownership, and centralized custodians, of which there's only one large one at this time, which is Namebase, custody the TLDs. And so we have very little control over anything. It's almost useless to send us a support request, because all we're going to do is direct you to a registrar or a register. I don't think we'd ever send you to a custodian, really. But there's almost no support requests that I can directly handle for you. So basically, the only thing that I have control over, and I might not have control over this for very long, but the only thing I really get to control is sort of custody of the domain. But there's a whole bunch of hoops that I have to jump through in order to change that, and we can have debates on whether or not that's a good thing, but that's really all I have control over. In the same way that maybe the board of a company, the only thing they really control is hiring and firing the CEO. Really, at the end of the day, that's all they get to do. So I don't have a lot of control over very many situations when it comes to the top level domains. So point number one, who am I? Point number two, what I control. Point number three is what I'm worried about right now. I can only speak from my experience, and I don't know if these things are going to change. And I might get some of this wrong, so I want to say this from the outset. But right now I'm worried about a couple of things. I attempted to unroute my .c and .1 from Namebase and transfer it to another register. And I was essentially told that I could not do that in a manner that allows SLD ownership to persist across that move. Not for technical reasons, but because that was just the decision that Namebase was going to make. I believe that's true. So the only way I could transfer ownership was to not allow renewals of second-level domains. And that would kind of force me to rug pull SLD owners, which I don't want to do. What I'm concerned about is the new agreement, which I understand is going to be a bit of a point of no return. Again, I might be wrong about this, but it appears that it's going to be a point of no return for top-level domains that have 500 registrations or more. They're not going to be able to unroute until organically second-level domains drop below that 500 threshold. Again, it would be great to have Richard here at some point, or someone else who knows more about this. But the only way, at least for me right now, to allow folks to move is to stop renewals and rug pull. And so truthfully, I'm like, okay, do I cross this threshold to this point of no return where I have to custody .c.1 with Namebase indefinitely, or do I rug pull second level domain owners? I think truthfully, the way I'm thinking about this is that we are very early in this game, and my biggest fear is that the space is going to be much further ahead 5-10 years from now. I mean, I hope that happens, but and that I'm going to be sort of locked into this. I'm going to be contractually locked into an old paradigm. So that brings me to point number 4, which are, what are my options going forward? As I see it, I have 4 options. Option number 1 is I can leave things how they are and hope that a decentralized solution for second level domains emerges, and that I would at some point be allowed to proceed that way without breaking contractual obligations, right? I don't understand how that would work. I find it impossible to conceive of a hybrid centralized decentralized solution, right? Because a decentralized solution requires some sort of trustless custodial solution, so I think if there were a hybrid, decentralized and centralized SLD solution, ultimately custody of the TLD would have to be with the decentralized solution, and then the centralized solution would be feeding into that. But I don't know. People more technical than myself can maybe speak to that. So option number one is I can leave things how they are. Option number two is I could partner on .c with a large institution like Namecheap or GoDaddy that has large legal budgets and that can go the distance in this centralized world. Someone that has large legal teams and is sort of familiar with a lot of paperwork and the ins and outs of the regulatory space.
Is it just me?
Okay. Option number three is I could sell .c or .1, which I don't think I'll ever do, primarily because I don't think anyone would pay me what I think it has the potential to be worth down the road. And option number four is I can attempt to gather receipts for the purchase of .c, .1, etc. SLDs, compile a huge database of every single owner of these second-level domains, and then let all the SLDs officially expire, and then port .c to a some sort of decentralized SLD solution, and then give former SLD owners priority for the names they've purchased, and some kind of credit for what they spent. Administratively, that'd be a huge burden, but I think that the appeal of that approach is that it gives me optionality. So I've been considering all of these things, and I feel a great deal of responsibility to SLD owners, especially the folks who purchased early, which is, I guess, everyone, right? Because this is early, and I would ensure, if I did, sort of let all the SLDs expire, I would ensure that folks who have paid for domains would have, would get first dibs at those domains, those SLDs, on a decentralized solution. So I kind of just wanted to walk everyone through how I'm thinking about this space and what I know, and I thought this could be a good way of framing some of the discussion that's to follow. So that's my bit.
Thanks so much, Clay. Really appreciate you coming here. We've known each other since before Handshake, and you're a leader in the internet marketing space and in the domain space and crypto space. So I'm really happy that you're here today and in the Handshake community. I think a second perspective. I was asked to read off this message from a customer of, I guess, yours, or technically from Gateway. Maybe I'll read that, and then I think Mike Carson might be the best. I know, of course, Richard would be great to be here. He couldn't make it, but I think Mike, maybe do you want to prepare a response to that? But I think I'll read this message per request from a customer.
Cool.
Yeah, and a lot is on my blog at SkyInclude, but I'll read it. Between January and April 2022, Sebastian Staub and I, Dr. Brand is his alias, bought via our separate accounts on Gateway around 150 blockchain domains, mostly .c and .token extensions, but including others. This was the basis of a domain portfolio that we used to launch a new business, Web3Domains.auction. Amongst these names was the iconic ice.c, which we subsequently sold to ice.com. And then around 1 month ago, logging into Gateway, our assets were visible as a list, but clicking on the domain names produced only this message. Namebase.io has changed the zone files for this TLD You will need to contact support at namebase.io in regards to this domain. We contacted Namebase as instructed and sent them a full list of names that we individually owned. The reply from Namebase was eventually received was, unfortunately, there isn't much we can do currently at Namebase. Please reach out to gateway.io support and request them to integrate their system into our new registry. I relayed this message from Namebase back to Gateway and have not received a reply. So everyone is passing the buck and our digital assets seem to be stuck in limbo, although I guess blockchain domains, there must be a record of them somewhere, right? Our pressing problem is that we have to obtain control of the domain management of these domains again. We have no access to them, cannot change the DNS, cannot transfer them to another registrar, and cannot obtain auth code in case of a sale. This is damaging our business enormously, and the portfolio contains a lot of names which we consider to be potentially valuable names, and right now had to stop marketing them. The ideal solution would be these names are transferred properly to our individual accounts at Namebase so that we can regain control over them and their domain management. We'd be grateful for any assistance that you can give us, Mike. I understand you also have similar problems with domains purchased by Gateway. All of this is seriously damaging to the reputation of HNS, and it's a real shame. And in the meantime, Unstoppable and ENS are moving ahead. We fully believe in the HNS ecosystem. We have invested heavily in it, purchased names in good faith, and we have based our entire new business on it. So a professional resolution is urgently needed now. So that's the end of the message.
Yeah. I mean, I read stuff like that, and I think this is centralization, and this is what we all came here to avoid. And it's biting us in the ass yet again. I think a decentralized SLD solution is sorely needed. I was going to say it cannot come fast enough, but I don't think we want a rush solution here. I think we want something that can serve us for a long time, and that can provide the space with a lot of stability and reliability, and something we can all kind of take to the bank. But yeah, it's a little heartbreaking to read letters like this.
Yeah, no, they've been contacting me often, even before this. But I think we have some other great people here on stage and listening. Mike Carson, I haven't had you share much. I know that was just a lot to take in. Do you wanna give us some insights?
Yeah, part of the main reason, I'm on here talking and doing this is because of Clay, and Clay thought that maybe we could communicate more. So I think that's a good idea too. It's just it's been a difficult. It's been kind of a mess, really. But I mean, this, I think, Handshake, it's growing in steps. It's early. It's growing in steps. And the first step, the baby step, was to have this centralized thing, which mimics ICANN, what ICANN is doing, which is a way to get people to have domains, to get domains on these top-level domains and stuff like that. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next iterations and stuff. But, yeah, in regards to the registry stuff, I mean, just to, well, first, I just want to reassure everybody that I'm confident that so James Stevens registry for 10 years is he's taken over managing Gateway. I mean, he managed it before, but now he's like Steve Webb and I we just want to focus on Impervious and stuff. He's taking over, and he's talked with Richard, and they're making good progress. And they just did something where they coordinated, so there's not going to be any double registration of names. So I'm confident that this is going to be worked out soon. But yeah, it's it started. The end of last year, Tieshin, we had been talking regularly, and then he kind of just dropped off a cliff. I think he just moved on to other things, or I don't know what it was, but he was our point of contact. we would have a call set up and he would just no show. And we also didn't get payments on time for providing the registry service. So we canceled our contract. We terminated our agreement, which, this was as part of the agreement, we had to give them a notice and wait 30 days and still no payment. And then, we can terminate it. So we terminated it, but we're like, look, we're going to keep running it and, and work something out. But nothing, there's not much getting worked out really. And so we just kept running it. And, I had some calls with Namebase and, this is part of the reason why, we didn't have a lot to say because we were, waiting to try to work out something, then we could, say, what the agreement was between Namebase or how the transition was going to happen and stuff like that. So, but that didn't happen, and then it became kind of contentious, and, there was threatened loss, threatened to sue and stuff, and so then I don't know what to say. There's things you don't want to say when you, and so it became a big mess, and honestly, for me, a huge pain and distraction when I just want to focus on impervious stuff. But, and also it's like Clay said, he wanted to get .c off and, off of Namebase and transfer to a multi-sig wallet and run on our registry, but that was not possible. That was not something that, it was technically possible. It was possible, but it's not something they were going to do. So yeah, it became contentious, and then it was still just okay, we're running the registry, but we don't know what's going to happen, and then Namebase said, you got to integrate with our registry, and we thought that this was in terms of new TLDs that they were going to onboard, but then one day, out of the blue, they changed the name server data on all the names on the blockchain. So we had no control after that. They changed it to point to Namebase name servers, .c and everything. So we had no control. A lot of people's domains stopped working after that. It was basically a huge rug pull. It was a huge, giant rug pull. That's exactly what it was. But, and, it was, that's the last thing you want to happen is a giant rug pull like that. So, it got a little contentious, but, now I think things are on the right track. I think James and Richard are moving in the right direction. They're, so I think this is all going to work. It's going to work itself out eventually. It's going to soon. Things will be worked out. But yeah, right now, that is pretty much the info I have. I guess if anybody has questions, let me know.
Okay. Chango's up here too, and Chango, she's more on the blockchain side of things. So I don't know, Chango, do you have some insights or what you've seen or your thoughts, on this?
Yeah, I definitely don't have too much insight to provide with respect to the registrar business because I'm not really a domainer. But it sounds like a new leadership with Namecheap at the helm is going to lead to probably a better resolution. That being said, I do hear a lot of calls for decentralized SLDs, and I'm all here for it. I think what's just needed from an abstract and objective perspective as somebody who doesn't have a dog in the fight as to whether a centralized solution or a decentralized solution or somewhere in between is the right one. The messaging that I've been going with that, if somehow SLD solutions could launch coins or something or somehow fund their SLD solution, whether it be on Ethereum and Ethereum L2 or on some other blockchain, and are able to
I don't know if it's...
and promote in.
Oh,
Yeah.
It cut for a second. I think you're back. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm all for like nurturing competition between different level domain solutions. I think that would be really good for Handshake, because everything's going to be using Handshake at the root, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, great. And then, unfortunately, I know this time for this Twitter space is not Europe time zone friendly, so it has affected, I think, some people joining. I hope it's okay I share from James Stevens' Discord. I've been talking to him privately, and he, less than 12 hours ago, shared this into the Handshake Development Fund Discord general channel. I'll read it out loud. Yesterday afternoon, I had a long call with Richard, the CEO of Namecheap, and he agreed that he will personally ensure that all names bought before Namecheap/Namebase took over the registry function previously run by Gateway will be honored and remain in the ownership of the first person who bought them. And then he says, I have since then sent them a list of all names, and their technical staff assured me they will get working on that right away. As a result, I believe I can guarantee to you that all names you bought with any registrar will be safe. I am now working to integrate Gateway.io with the Namecheap Namebase registry to get your Gateway account fully working again. Unfortunately, I've hit some technical issues in doing this and hope to get these resolved within a week or so. We still have differences of opinion on what happened, but it's time to suck it up and be pragmatic about this for the benefit of the community and SLD owners. So that's his, I think, a good update to share.
Yeah, James, I know his priority is SLD owners, and so I think he'll, I'm confident that they're gonna work through this pretty soon, and everything will be okay after that, I guess.
Okay, great.
And if I could add just a little perspective here, I mean, Bitcoin has had multiple instances of Ethereum has as well of hacks and turmoil, and I think ultimately this kind of thing hardens the space. I think as long as everyone is committed to SLD owners, and that regardless of the circuitous routes we take to various solutions, as long as at the end of the day the first person to buy a domain is the person that gets it, even if there are hiccups, I think all this probably pans out. But this community is growing, and I think this isn't the first time that something like this happened. So I think we just all need to kind of stay the course and do the right thing, and ultimately I think we probably get to the promised land.
Okay.
Just one other thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ultimately, like, this doesn't, even though it seems like it has to do with Handshake, it's not the Handshake protocol. It's like nothing has been hacked up at the Handshake protocol level. Like, this is, it's underneath the top level, the root zone. So it's like, it's nothing that is actually negatively that's happened to the Handshake protocol. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, that's
all people problems.
Yeah, that's a good point. Somebody was chatting to me the other day. I think it was John.Sats, John Harrison, and the .Sats and .dgen owner, and he says it's maybe like the MT Gox of Bitcoin point. I mean, it's so early, right? Like MT Gox is like 2012 or 13 or something like that, and it's not the same because that was stolen funds or lost funds. This seems like nobody's getting losing their domains But yeah, I mean, like just a second, what Clay has said, that this is normal in an early stage project, or blockchain, or even any kind of tech company, is these issues come up and are sorted out.
I wouldn't even say it's at the scale of Mt. Gox. It's something much, much smaller, not too...
Chango, it's cutting. At least I'm not hearing. Or now it's coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming back now. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if it's just me, but I didn't hear you for 5-10 seconds there. But yeah, it's nothing like MT Gox. I mean, nobody's losing huge money. It's just it's causing a little bit of stress, and the domain owners are, of course, nervous. When I read that email for that, he doesn't know Handshake. He's more like a normal traditional domain investor that sees these as a new kind of Web3 domains. They use credit card. He doesn't understand the technicalities of this. So I think we just want to make sure people are educated and aware of what's happening, and assured that there's no loss of their domains. I think, I don't know, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's been brought up so many times about a certain name-based employee that seems to have that did leave the company, and I don't want to harp on it. I don't even want to bring up the name, but again, it's people feel like Namebase is such a big part of Handshake that Namebase equals Handshake. I think it's especially important now that everyone realizes we all appreciate Namebase. I mean, that's how I got started on Handshake, but it's a private company that has employees, and it has its own P&L, and it doesn't represent the Handshake blockchain system. So while of course there's these kind of debates and turnover in a company, which is normal, it doesn't represent the ecosystem at large. I don't know if somebody here wants to continue with that, but I just want to at least address that point of been brought up a lot to me and probably others here. Okay, if no one wants to comment on that, we can move to another point. I mean, a lot of people are, believes a lot in Handshake, myself included, and there's always this frustration. They see Jack Dorsey talk about Web 5 and other kind of blockchains, like we talk about Unstoppables, Budget, ENS. Anybody have ideas of how we could better market or get exposure for HNS within, some people say, Silicon Valley or mainstream? Maybe Chango, you want to try that?
I don't even know what Web 5 means. Wait, what is that? He's just making up new terms now, to a point where things don't have meaning anymore.
Yeah, it's true, right? I mean, I didn't dig deep into it, but I mean, I feel the same. I mean, I've been reading some of the Discord chats in the HNS Fund and others, and yeah, it seems like it's something called DID, like digital identity, and I can't follow it either. I don't know if Mike or Clay or others want to share, but it's just still frustrating because obviously everybody's talking about it. Everybody's buying Web 5 domains now, right? Or on the ETH or .com, or so. Of course, Jack has a lot of clout, and we all wish that he would be paying attention to what we're doing here as a community. But yeah, so there's just different points people always want to bring that up. So we all feel like he's going to lead to Handshake, but of course there's always this concern in the community people bring up, and that was a question submitted that I would at least bring up here. And okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Clay, go ahead.
I can share some thoughts on I think the opportunity here, and why I think there's a potential for Handshake to have a huge budget, and that is because there's just so many layers on top of layers here. So, with .ease or ENS or unstoppable domains, I mean, they're essentially selling on top of one or two TLDs. So the influencers there are, TLD or SLD owners. So that's one group, and there are network effects. I think what's interesting here is that we not only have a token, but then we have a bunch of TLDs, and each TLD owner is promoting their TLDs, and then you've got SLD owners on top of those TLDs that are also promoting things, and each of these TLDs have the opportunity to go with a centralized solution for SLDs or a decentralized one, and the decentralized solutions can incentivize around tokens potentially in the future. I think that's an option, maybe, or maybe they'll just all use Handshake. I don't know, but it seems like there's an opportunity for kind of second order network effects to be at play here, right? It's not just about one TLD. There's a bunch of them, and each of these TLDs can be their own independent ecosystems, and I think we have important Lindy effects. I think it'd be really stupid for Web 5, whatever that is, to do their own thing when this has been around for a while, and there's there's communities that are excited about .c, there's communities that are excited about .tx, there's communities that are excited about a number of TLDs and their ownership there, and there's integration in Opera. Hopefully we'll get Brave on board, but I don't think there's really a need to reinvent the wheel, right? We've got Namecheap involved. Hopefully, Michael's here. Hopefully we'll get GoDaddy involved at some point, and we can develop a great amount of momentum and steam. So I remain really optimistic. I think we're less susceptible to disruption than others might think. I think really when it comes to a robust solution for kind of this root layer, there's only one game in town, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I completely agree, and I just want to second what you're saying with each TLD kind of being its own layer one with optionality for that TLD owner to go and brand it as they may, because each TLD is its own POM, and with that there's an entire huge secondary market that comes with it, and so the total addressable market for this domain ecosystem is just huge, and it could be to the tune of trillions of dollars. And the takeaway that I was trying to convey earlier is that we want to nurture competition in the same way that when there was only Bitcoin and then Ethereum came around, there was just this sort of competitive landscape of ICOs launching their own tokens, and there was that history with people coming up with ideas like atomic swaps, or is federated sidechains going to be the thing that works, or is it ultimately DEXs? And it took many years for the market to realize what worked and what didn't, and so in the same way as that history kind of unfolded, we got to do like a similar thing for Handshake sub-level domains. That's where a lot of the entrepreneurial activity could happen, and that part's very exciting to me about Handshake.
Yeah, I mean, Steven's here. Great, Steven, you have something to share?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so basically, I've been kind of watching all this stuff at a high level to see like what sort of ways strategically Handshake can continue to enact itself so it can continue to move more quickly. Like its success is assured at this point. But really what it is altogether is drive with underneath one narrative. The first 2 years things are very disjointed, but effectively that's how it's supposed to be, as you sort of storm against each other and sort of figure out what norms work across the ecosystem, and we normalize those. So that's why we're hearing this really now. So the way to move forward now is like once the .eth names and the core strength of these are the unstoppable domains, and there is a very limited subset of a selection in order to like buy an SLD on, regardless of whether or not the root of those TLDs is decentralized or not, or the mechanics about the different architectures. That's beside the point. The interest is general retail gets excited about this sort of like new sort of like scarce like opportunity to get in onto what they feel is like going to be the new space. That's why I feel that like .c is as successful as it has been so far, and .p on name G like thus far has been really successful. And it's just because it's just like people are focused on one thing. So if we found like 3 or 4 or 5 like main like TLDs, so .org, those like the initial selection of TLDs that you can get SLDs on top of. So folks sort of clamoring around like .com, and that's why .com to this day kind of has a monopoly on hash. Like Handshake needs it's effectively its own like sort of like couple of .coms, .orgs, etc. that people get really excited about. And because each of those ultimately are going to fragment into their own little individual communities, kind of like DAOs. So it's important that each of those have their own voice within the Handshake kind of like greater like umbrella. And I think that's where we're going to find the most traction in the short term. And then as that kind of core application continues to drive home, naturally additional infrastructure to support decentralized SLDs and things like that will emerge just by like the kind of the sheer need for it. So yeah, I think just clamoring like a few TLDs, which could really help a few of these newer upcoming registrars too, is a great way to like drive like user base into like new geographic areas too, besides just the US.
Okay, great, thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I think a lot of us here are feeling the idea of this decentralized part of Handshake, where each TLD is its own ecosystem. Like Django said, you can launch a token under it, right? A DAO. I've seen Stephen talking about that in various Telegram groups. Each TLD is its own ecosystem, right? So I know a lot of people always compare us to Ethereum ENS domains or compare Handshake to Unstoppable, but I think the one big difference is each TLD is its own business. I know a lot of people here hold hundreds or thousands of TLDs that were early, but you don't need that many. You just need really one TLD as a business. I mean, I invited Noel up on stage. I don't know if he's available, but Noel again is a great example of that. He's doing amazing. I think everyone here is really proud of Noel at the .tx TLD, right? But he's really focused and doubled down on just mostly TX. I think he had other really amazing TLDs, and I think he moved on from those. Oh, are you here? Well, there's Stephen. Hey, Stephen, you have more to say?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it would cause some feedback. But yeah, so I was going to say that Noel is a great example, and I got to hang out with Noel like during consensus and when I came. Yeah, so are basically like business, right? I'm sure that kind of goes really well. With his .tx, he really just sort of leaned into what he knew about Texas. He's if you ever meet Noel, he's incredible. You know what I mean? It's sort of like that culture and that ethos around that community, and surrounded that, and it's very, pro-Texan speculators that want to like buy SLDs on top of the TX TLD. That's just leaning into the same framework with every single one of these
Stephen, it's a little choppy for me. I'm not sure if it's my side, but the end there was a little choppy. But thanks for that insight. Noel came up on stage. Noel, do you want to share? Also, you maybe plug a little bit about NamesCon and what you're doing there, but also just your insights as a TLD owner at .tx. One of a community favorite. What you want to share? Any insights of your feelings?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for putting this together, and I guess I would say to everyone here, howdy y'all. But just going off of Stephen's point,
it shows that
everybody
you
else's
still connecting to the chat.
Yeah, exactly. But just adding to what y'all have said, beforehand, there's so many ecosystems and layers within Handshake. And the way that I still think about it to this day is, .eth is for the Ethereum tribe, and .sol is for the Solana tribe, but Handshake is for the world. It's a universal naming protocol. And so just as, Clay has had success with .c, what I'm doing here in Texas is really establishing .tx as the domain for Texas, but then also can mean all kinds of different things for the community. And so I just want to add that it's really like these names are so programmable, whether on a technical level on decentralizing SLDs, which I definitely hope to see someday for .tx, but then also just on the branding, the community formation. And we've seen quite a bit of the ugliness with decentralization over the past few months, right? But then therein lies the beauty and decentralization as well. All of us are here together, not because the Handshake Company or Foundation told us to, but because Mike McElhaney and everyone else here decided Handshake is worth it. And that's why we'll continue to push on. But my thoughts on just a little bit of a note on NamesCon. So as I'm in Austin, Texas, I'm helping organize NamesCon this year. It'll be in Austin from August 31st to September 3rd. So for everyone here in the audience, I want you to do a reaction for me. If you're going or thinking about going to NamesCon, I want to do a tally. All right. We got a few going. That's good. That's good. Very cool. Well, we're planning to have a strong presence there at NamesCon. We helped sponsor NamesCon Online last year. This is the first time that NamesCon is going to be in person, and where Handshake is also going to have a strong presence as well. And for those that don't know, NamesCon is the world's largest domain conference. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be having a Handshake booth, and there's also going to be Handshake sessions in person. So it's going to be an incredible time to connect with our global community. I know how many countries do we have here on this call? It's incredible. And you can ask, Django or Steven, and they can touch on it more, how amazing our HNS consensus meetup was a few weeks ago. But overall, it's really important to strengthen our bond to each other and Handshake by hanging out in person. That's really what I care about. And that's why I've been having monthly meetups here in Texas. It's great that we're connecting, here online in these Twitter spaces. We need to continue to do that more regularly. But at the same time, we need to continue to strengthen our relationship, because to me, Handshake is freedom. Handshake is love. And, we need to show our love for one another as well. But anyways, my last little thing was I just tweeted a special discount for the Handshake community. If you are thinking about going to NamesCon, so just check out my feed there. But I see Mike and Clay have y'all's hands raised, so I'll just give the time back to y'all.
Yeah, thanks, Noel. I mean, you got me all pumped up. I appreciate your passion and what you do. So, Clay, do you want to share something? I see hand raised is also a helpful way for us to know who wants to speak. So, Clay, if you could put some insights, that's great.
I saw people doing all kinds of cool emojis, like 100%, and I thought it was going to get me there. So I was just trying to affirm what Noel was saying. I think we've got a great, just an amazing gift of an evangelist in Noel for the space. He speaks, and I start, feeling, religious inclinations and start wanting to go all in. So I was just trying to affirm there, but I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thanks, Clay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what attracts, a lot of us to Handshake is this, again, like some people complain that this time wasn't good for Europe. I mean, it's not like I'm the official Handshake Twitter space organizer. I'm just, a couple people asked me and I just put this together. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? There's not like some CEO of Handshake that we need to ask permission or it's permissionless, right? Of course there's these issues we're dealing with now in the short term, like we're mentioning, but we're all free to do whatever we want to do, right? You buy your Handshake coin, get your TLD, and do what you like with it. So it's really refreshing to hear that, Noel. So thank you. Okay, Cameron, I see you up here with a raised hand. I'd love to hear what you're working on too. Thanks for making it.
Hey guys, just wanted to introduce myself to the community. My name is Cameron Magruder, but online I go by Scooter Magruder, and I make a whole bunch of sports videos, sports reaction videos. I got a huge Dallas Cowboys following, huge Florida Gators following, and basically the way I'm looking at this is that no one has been thinking about the sports fans. So across the past couple of months, I've been acquiring a whole bunch of sports names with the express intent of starting a sports registrar that then I can sell to my subscribers and my subscriber base. And I also have got some names for my creator friends. And I'm looking at this as a way for creators to make more money. You're a creator, you have a saying, you have something that you're known for. Win that HNS name, sell it to your audience, and as time progresses, the use cases will increase as well. So that's what I'm doing right now. I've got a developer, the same developer who did Miami. Stefan is working on that project. So in 2 to 3 months, be on the lookout for my sports registrar. I'm not dropping the name just yet, but I am excited, and I fully believe in Handshake, and I'm excited that all you guys are here, and I'm with Noel. Like, we do need to be strengthening this relationship, forming deeper bonds, meeting people in person, and honestly just spreading the word, because I think this is big. I think we're still early, and I'm just excited.
I think it's also important to note, like, as you guys are, like, notating that there's different identities and personalities that are going to show up in this community, and each of them are going to garner their own type of, like, following. Whether or not they're good personalities or not, whether or not they're toxic personalities are beneficial, that's up for, like, the general consensus of the consciousness of the community to decide, and then effectively, like, they'll make sure those energies either make their way slowly out, as we've learned recently, which we can easily do, or they're going to really kind of become, like, a really large, like, mainstay. So, like, yeah, like focusing on, like, like sports, for instance, focusing on, like, different, gadget discussions, things like that are emerging in the space around different software projects, different crypto projects, honing in, and then realizing that organically, because we are quote-unquote decentralized, people are going to naturally meritocratically lean on the people for decision-making. Like, people will naturally delegate their own subconscious awareness to, kind of leaders that they see emerge in things. So if you feel like you know a lot about SLDs, you know a lot about, like, TLDs, you know a lot about Dane, when you speak about those things, naturally people are going to see you kind of like as a subject matter expert, because there is no delegated subject matter expert here, because there is no hierarchy. But you have to realize that though there is not a hierarchy by definition, there is one subconsciously that everyone is either aware or unaware of. So just like really try and support those different community leaders as they organically emerge, and even if they're doing things a little bit wrong or doing things their own way, as long as they're being, like, creative and they're doing something different, it's going to bring different types of people to the table. And just like make sure that we all, like, are, like, open-minded, and especially as, like, other organizations like GoDaddy and stuff, like, come on board, let's make sure they're well invited, that we don't try and create some sort of persistent rivalry that might exist between, say, like, the Namecheap, Namebase side and, like, the GoDaddy side or something like that, because, like, that time's over, right? That sort of, like, competition amongst each other that we had to do with, like, Web 2 and everything prior, like, we're moving away from that. So naturally we got to make sure that we're being, like, good role models for that. And there's going to be speed bumps on how we best approach that and how we do that, but each time we get a little bit better for it.
I just want to make a note about the intangible fundamental indicator here, which is the fact that, like, no one here who's in Handshake right now is being paid, has been funded in any way, shape, or form, and is purely motivated through passion for the project and understanding of this project's fundamental value and its impact on the world, its potential impact on the world 10, 20 years into the future. So, yeah, kudos to everyone who's here, because, you're smart enough to recognize this project for what it is and what it can become. And yeah, for just working hard on this thing on your own dime, on your own time, to make this really manifest itself in reality.
Yeah, I want to just agree with that. I think there's I'm super psyched now hearing about the sports use case. A friend of mine back in the day started a company which broke deals with bands to get to use their domain to issue email addresses. So, for example, they did a biz dev partnership with Metallica, so that Metallica fans could get like at Metallica email addresses, right, at Metallica.com. So you could be like, Joe at Metallica.com. And he was fairly successful with that. I love the sports idea. I love the idea with creators. Every single YouTuber, can have usernames off their TLD. Something I've been toying with is I own the SLD contract. So I've been thinking about possibilities around contracts. You could have like AVAX.contract or ETH.contract, and then so you could have a universal resolver for contracts across these platforms. You could plug in a contract address .eth.contract. And you can sort of look up what was happening across all these blockchains, because back in the day, sort of the contract address was a unique identifier that you could search in Google, but now there's so many forks of Ethereum that it's hard to know what's going on. But I think there's endless use cases, and I think we've just begun to really tap and explore what they could be, and I'm here for it, as they say on social media, and I think the possibilities are very exciting.
Yeah, to add to that, I really think that everyone or every project that's working on the naming space, including like ENS and Unstoppable, there is, and Urbit, all of us are trying to tackle the same problem, but from different angles. And, if we sort of combined efforts, I think we would have, like as an industry, would have a much higher chance of actually breaking through the traditional namespace, because the final boss is ICANN, right? Not necessarily each other.
Yeah, it's super. Yeah, I mean, these group sessions always get us motivated and excited. I'm invigorated again. But yeah, that's really what it's about, is supporting creators. I mean, I think that's also the ethos of Web3. The creators. Not these centralized groups that take, what is it? Facebook wants like 50% of the money on their metaverse or something like that. The money's supposed to go to the creators, right? And the artists and the builders. So it's exciting to see this coming together here. And again, let me go back to my question list. We had this form people submitted. So maybe it's worth bringing up. I don't know. Some people are feeling like we need to regulate the registrars in Handshake. Maybe this issue coming up now, or there's also other really micro registrars that we see in the Handshake Telegram. I don't want to call them out, but they're promoting their registrars. They're setting up their own little micro one for their TLDs. But we've monitored them, and sometimes the website's offline, or sometimes the whole system is changed. So some people have been talking to me in private messages saying, oh, we need to regulate these companies. We need to protect from the quote-unquote rug pulls or the other issues, to make like some kind of an association or group of registrars. I don't know if there's feedback or thoughts on that. And I think Miguel, I know it's late for him in Europe, but that was some submitted from him. His concerns or his thoughts are some kind of ways to regulate the registrars. I don't know, maybe Mike Carson has some thoughts, or Clay, or of course anyone here.
Yeah, I personally don't think that there should be any regulation or any. I mean, it's like what people are saying. This is about innovation. This is about doing whatever the heck you want with your TLD, and if it turns out to be a killer app for Handshake, that's awesome. So I think I think anybody can do whatever they want. I think anybody should be able to do whatever they want, really. And if somebody's top-level domain goes offline all the time, and then people are not going to want to buy the SLDs under it. Or if they feel very confident, like it's locked on the blockchain, like forever or something like that. If it's locked, then maybe they'll feel a lot more confident. Or so I think I understand the concern. I mean, I wouldn't want to buy a second-level domain under a top-level domain that's either shady or doesn't have good uptime or something like that. But I think it's all right now it's all about doing whatever. This is what it's about. This is what Handshake is about. Is breaking open the root zone, breaking open the top level space, and innovating like crazy. It's freedom and innovation, and something's going to happen. There's going to be a killer app for Handshake that's going to bring over a lot of the people and stuff. So that's my thoughts on it.
Miguel, I see, is here. It was his question, but I'm glad to see some input. Stephen, do you want to share?
I was just going to say, I think we should expect a certain level of experimentation and a certain level of failure. Handshake is not absolved from hard lessons, just like the Bitcoin community, Ethereum community, Zcash community, all these other communities have endured. So just like with the creation of DAOs, smart contracts, the creation of TLD registrars, decentralized ones, decentralized SSDs, those are going to be, and I use this word in so many different facets of life, and all my different writings and essays, the word is just emergent. You're going to just have to let things break. And then, of course, you're going to have people that say, well, what is the administrative social solution? Should there be regulation around this? That's the old, normie way to think of it. And then the other alternate would be, what's the decentralized, what is the software engineering, what is the architecture, what's the architecture necessary to have a solution to this? And then ultimately, there'll be some manner of social, reform around how people think about TLDs and SLDs, and then there'll be a technical solution that emerges to solve the problem. And the average of those two things will ultimately be normalized, right? So we just need to have that expectation that there are going to be speed bumps, and probably the next 6 to 8 months are going to be very heavy in that experimentation as we seek to find what those standards are going to be.
Okay, great. Miguel, I see you up here. Do you want to add? I think this was your point you brought up.
Okay. Are you listening to me right? I'm with the AirPods. Sometimes fails.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there are some points I wanted to come back very, very fastly regarding with Mike Carson and Clay say about, nothing is stick to you under you have it with you. But it means this double phrase means that once something is not presented, anything is stick to it. So at any point, a name chip or whatever it's doing, if they are not presenting something now because it's not official, I think, in my opinion, that they are at some point to, in some parts, come back and say, hey, we cannot do that, or we have some difficulties there. And there are some small geniuses in the community that makes amazing, great things. We have Eskimo, HNS Chat, who makes an identifying service, and we all try to make our place in Handshake by making our jobs. And I think it's extraordinary, big companies keeping their own teams because they work excellent. But I think big companies needs to look at this small kind of personalities are born, because some of them, I'm not saying he specifically, but in this case is yes, some small geniuses create small tools that sometimes solves a lot of problems. And when HNS Chat came to our lives, we have a stick ID with us, we have a chat with a general group, we have a registry of chats where we can somehow do it as a way to register in blockchain to say something, our SLDs, for example, or just a chat group where it only goes registrations with HNS Chat, so owner and seller has their own verification insight. So big companies need to focus not only on their own teams based in the past, which they are extraordinary in Namecheap, I thought so, and they also need to focus on, hey, there are someone who also knows how to do things, and these kinds of projects could be great for us. So nothing is to stick to you unless it's not official. So if there is nothing presented by the moment by Namecheap, I think there are time to go back and say, hey, there are the TLDs. I know you're going to come back with them, so just release them, and there it is. This is the first point. Second point, nothing is yours until it's not on your wallet. So as owner of TLDs and a micro registrar at Pencil Domains, we always say we are experimental. We are not doing things as we expected because we are developing a new experience. We're going to present in Worldwide Blockchain Developer Conference. This is a Pencil exclusive here at this call. So thank you all to come to here and make an effort to communicate between all of us, because for Handshake it's very important to establish communication. We are moving to Cosmos and we are owning token on Cosmos being developed today. We successfully deploy, and we also successfully deploy a block. So we're not going to do the whole Ignatius Cosmos thing, okay? We're just experimental. We are online 24/7. We have only one TLD owner on our blockchain. There are rewarding some issues about some kind parts of Solana we're working for and trying to. Tomorrow, officially in Barcelona, there is the Hacker House of Solana, and I will be there presenting Handshake, trying to make the presentation of Handshake with Solana, despite the horrible thing happened yesterday or 2 days ago with voters, with, frustrated, not trying to vote or quit from the blockchain, control it. There's something we don't like it. We're not going to stick with one token. We're just saying we're experimenting. And when our software is online all the time and we're bringing experiences, we have small developments with GitHub partners, and we have some Cloudflare partners today. For example, we're down because Cloudflare and a lot of internet was down today. But when we touch our server and we just erase everything, nothing is touched because everything is online 24/7, thanks to GitHub and Cloudflare. So I think we are dealing with small registrars warrants by no identities. This is important. We want to clarify one thing when we say we want an organization. We want an open source organization built by people that decide, not like a DAO, just with our opinions like today in this call. It's extraordinary to have today. And an organization doesn't mean to make private. Things are private now. For example, you go to Miami, you want to buy a TLD. Oh, there's only one sticker about, Namebase. No, we need there a sticker of Bob Wallet, allowing, for example, I'm not talking about or with Bob Wallet as a part of the small team or contributing. I'm talking as my opinion. We need there a sticker like saying, you can buy this with ShakeDex, you can buy this with Bob Wallet, you can buy this with a platform someone wants to invent it and can sell TLDs from the blockchain. Not only name-based stickers on Miami to buy TLDs. We need them, a lot of stickers of providers of TLDs. And there's a lot of pressure there because a lot of things are coming because it's not Handshake name-based or name-shape. Okay, Handshake. It's because the presence is huge of name-based and the whole ecosystem. So we just need to figure out how to moderate that, or just putting more there, like TX selling TLDs, for example.
Okay. Thanks, Miguel. I really, just to summarize, I see Mike raised his hand, but you have you're doing the conference, the World Blockchain. I'll also be sharing there. I think Steven and some others. You'll maybe can link to a tweet here. It's really great. You're developing live on your Twitter with Pencil Domains, I believe, Twitter accounts. You're programming with Solana. You mentioned you're going to Solana boot camp right now. I think you're on the way. I know it's so late in Barcelona, so thank you for that. And Cosmos cross chain seems like you're mentioning too. So it's really great all you're doing here. Thank you, Miguel.
Yeah, I just want to say, be patient, everyone.
All right, thanks, Miguel.
I just want to say,
Okay.
just be patient with Handshake. This is a long-term trip, and we're going to go to the light as possible, as far. And good luck with everything. And thank you to stay here today.
Thanks so much, Miguel. All right, Mike Carson, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, so I have to run, and I just wanted to say thanks for setting this up, Mike, and and if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or mike@impervious.com or anything. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Really, thanks for coming on and sharing. It was really helpful. Okay, I see Namer Tips raised his hand. Yeah, I think we covered most of the main points today that I can see on the agenda. So we can also have people. So Namer Tips, if you'd like, you could share some insights. I know we chatted a little bit in direct message.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. I think that this is an opportune time to formally introduce myself. My name is Chris, and I am a part of the Namer Tips team. And for many of you all have encountered us in the Discord in a rather unconventional way, but for well-meaning reasons. We just wanted to go ahead and drop in, and when I say we, I'm speaking on behalf of the other individuals that are a part of the team that share a great enthusiasm for Handshake, and we're proud of what so many of you guys are doing. The reason that we don't heavily engage in the conventional fashion is because we understand that this is an evolving situation. So you have to go ahead and you have to cast your reel into the future, and you have to be strategic about who you form partnerships with, and you have to give the time to see where everyone is with regard to their approach. The idea of being able to own a TLD and offer SLDs is a very promising concept. However, it comes with a great deal of responsibility, which is something that we've seen, a few throughout the community, touch on every now and then. But we've spent the earlier portion of our situation gauging the community sentiment. So for some of you all, I know some of you all have been a bit perturbed by it. Some of you all have been confused by it. And some of you all have, just let it kind of flow over like water. We use the term we. And so anytime that you've communicated with us, we've always used we because we want to go ahead and convey the community element of what Handshake is. We believe that Handshake it should be viewed as a brand and not just a protocol. When you hear about Mr. Jack Dorsey and his bringing up of Web 5 and how fast that kind of caught on, that is a facet of marketing and branding, if you will, and that's just on the short side. Handshake has the ability to leverage the diversity of community, and I think that speaking for the team and probably many others within the community, that's something that everyone should leverage. The projects that we see that many of you guys are working on, the ones that are more out in the front, like Noel with .tx, Mr. Clay with what he's doing, and those aren't the only individuals. It's a wonderful list of you guys, and we're watching from afar. So I think that I wanted to go ahead and take this time to acknowledge that we are, for those who don't know, you probably have followed the Twitter. Namer Tips is a resource platform, and we look to go ahead and be a bridge for TLD owners, SLD buyers, and people who are just interested in the space. We realize that there's a lot of building right now, but there's individuals who are doing their best to educate individuals. But in education, which is our strong suit, there needs to be a diverse delivery of message, and we look to focus on that particular side of things. So for us, Namer Tips will be launching an interactive publication very soon. And what we have been doing in the Discord with the Namer Tips section, we wanted to go ahead and garner organic support. So we didn't want to go ahead and go through the spamming and things of that nature. We wanted to go ahead and invite individuals that were there and were thinking about TLD ownership beyond just having the TLDs and selling the SLDs, because believe it or not, the TLD ownership experience now, then, from before now, and in the future, it's all interwoven into our lives, and that's something that we need to go ahead and we need to take into consideration now. So what we did, we went on ahead and we invited individuals. For some of you all noticed that we put the color-coded messages up, we typed the articles, and we gauged feedback. But one thing that happened was towards the closing of the Namer Tip session, individuals were encouraged to go ahead and provide their feedback in order to gain access keys. Now, this is where the reveal of what that meant and what comes with that. Those individuals who submitted their answers and they gave their feedback, as a show of appreciation for their willingness to take their valuable time. All of you guys are investing valuable time, taking away time from other projects, your families, and other responsibilities. And we, as a team, felt obligated to reciprocate that. So we provided the keys through the Namer Tip. So the keys came in the form of the SLDs. Now, the reason that we went on ahead and we gave the keys to the SLDs was because those keys would theoretically serve as informal tokens, if you will, to access certain things. Not in the sense that they'll have a legitimate plug-in utility, but in the sense of, think along the lines of just being able to go ahead and present a TLD and get the benefit without having to plug anything in, just being able to confirm that you own that particular SLD. So what we did was we gave everyone the keys that contributed. And so now with the publication that's getting ready to be released, we have partners and we have some sponsors that have gotten in, and they are bolstering the idea of educating individuals about Handshake, how it works, some of the great projects, the community culture. For many of you all know that we've been really emphasizing community culture because that is Handshake's strong suit. So with the magazine that's going to be released, the individuals who receive the access keys, when the magazine is distributed, the individuals who own access keys will also get proceeds from the sale of the magazine. Now, it's not being sold in a conventional fashion, but that's a whole nother discussion. But the thing is, the point that I'm making here is that there are so many unique ways to leverage the SLDs and leverage the TLDs. But I think that if we start at the ground level with community, we embrace one another, and we realize that the diversity that exists amongst us is one of the biggest attributes, and it really doesn't matter if someone comes with the next big buzzword and they're pushing it. If we go ahead and we can support each other in person, online, and we can remain genuine and we can endorse the right to choose, I think that we'll go far. So
awesome.
Just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Namer Tips, and Chris. Great to know your name, Chris, there, and the team. Well, we've also been chatting back and forth for quite some time, and I really appreciate you and sharing here. And how I guess people find you in Discord, or of course tweet you, but that's really, really great.
Definitely.
Okay, I've been getting some direct messages. People either not want to come up or have questions. There's some people working on wallets, it seems like, developers, and are asking what would the TLDs be looking for if there was a new wallet for managing their TLDs. I don't know if some of the speakers or people here want to share, like maybe Clay or Chango or anyone on stage. So I could also share some of my points to get it started. I think for the main wallet right now, besides Namebase, is bobwallet.io, which I use. I use, of course, all of these. So I feel like they're making a new wallet, which is great. More choices, more options. I think one is that I could think of to get it started is just easier ways to connect with ShakeDex or decentralized exchanges, or even getting Handshake token, into your wallet some way. Maybe integrations with the faucet, the shakedrop.com, which the developers came up with. Just ways to maybe get people started with a name, with some coin, would be amazing as a thought.
Yeah, I really think we need a fiat on-ramp. I find it very difficult without going through, some kind like I don't even know who the OTC desks are for this kind of thing. I know there's lots of individuals saying they're OTC, but there's legal ramifications there, and so if there was a fiat on ramp that connected directly to a wallet, that would be incredibly powerful. And but I don't know that really needs to be initiated by the wallet owner. I think we need to get like a MoonPay or what was it, like Banks? I mean, there's a few of these services to adopt Handshake and sort of show to them that there's a need and a desire for it, and then it would just be up to a wallet to integrate that service. But I would love to be able to do this. And I don't think wrapped Handshake is enough because I'm not purchasing it primarily for the price action. I mean that is a part of it, but I think there's risks associated with not actually owning the native asset on the native blockchain, but also just paying for renewals and stuff. I had a moment there where I was moving a bunch of my names off of Namebase onto Bob Wallet, and I was concerned about being able to pay for renewals. Luckily, someone in the community gave me like 10 HNS, but I'm going to have to, as far as I can tell, I'm going to have to sell one of my domains on ShakeDex to get some HNS to pay for the renewals down the road. Luckily, it's far off, but we need a fiat on-ramp really, really badly.
Okay. Well, if you try ShakeDrop, I feel like I'm plugging them a lot, but I appreciate the developer made this. ShakeDrop.com just came out like if you tweet out, it's like a Bitcoin faucet. If you tweet out, you'll get in your address, they'll send you in. It's not like a guaranteed amount, but like 10, 20, 30 HNS has been what's been paying out. It's pretty transparent too. That's another pretty cool little tool I appreciate somebody made. But thanks for those insights, Clay. Django, you got something?
The longer-term goal is to get Coinbase listed, obviously. Coinbase being the primary fiat on-ramps in the United States, at least. So, yeah, I mean, that's a longer conversation to have, but, that would be ideal, right? So, if anybody has the connections to the Coinbase listings team, I know it's a long shot, but yeah, that's kind of what we need.
For sure.
Well, honestly, it does have its complications. However, the community culture and the publication, we're going to be going into more detail in the coming days. And in the coming days, you'll see that there have been some reach out to different individuals with regard to the HNS community and the potential. However, one thing that has continued to roadblock us when we engage in some of these conversations is being able to go ahead and emphasize what the general consensus is. So when we speak about the uniquely enough, and we're not too prideful to say it. We're not heavy on the protocol side. We understand it, but we're not the devs. So we everyone that does dev work, we absolutely love you. We thumbs up everything that you do, and it's definitely something that we're not into right now. However, when we speak with individuals regarding those partnerships and the endorsements, a lot of people are saying, okay, well, I understand the protocol, but what is anyone doing? What is the culture? Kind of what is the goal? And so what we've had to do, and that was where the publication was birthed, we said there needs to be a source that says, hey, we are not the official source, but we're one source, hopefully, and we can, encourage others to come about that says, hey, in the community, these are things that are happening. These are the thought processes of some of the individuals that are within the community, and this provides you a referenceable tool where you can go ahead and you can see where it is that everyone is headed, and you can kind of map everything out from there with regard to how involved you want to get, what resources you want to allocate to help the situation, or what referrals you can make to those individuals who would be able to. So we don't think, a lot lot of things you do have to go through the red tape, and there's a lot that you have to go through in order to make certain things happen. But we really think that the identity of the handshake culture, I mean, not the handshake culture, but the handshake community is going to be really important to emphasize, because the moment that you let certain individuals know that, hey, you know, this is the community, this is how it works, these are some of the highlights, I think a lot of people will volunteer, you know, to get on board with, you know, being on ramps and lending their services and so on and so forth. But, you know, that's our, you know, our theory, speculation based on some of the conversations that we have. But, you know, we'll be more than open to hearing you guys' you know, additional thoughts on that. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. I'm excited to see your updates in the next few days. I know you've been working hard for quite some time. Back to the wallet idea, I've been thinking during the conversations was a lot of people are always nervous if they have it on a decentralized wallet such as Bob. They're afraid of the renewal, forgetting to renew. I know, you know, Rithvik's a great contributor. You know, shout out to Rithvik. It's probably early morning for him and where he is. But, you know, I think as far as a wallet feature would be, I know there's some alerts. I saw some developers, I think it's Nathan Woodburn, made a add-on to Bob that alerts people about renewing. But of course, everybody's always paranoid that they're going to forget to renew their name. So any kind of alarms or renewal system in a wallet would be appreciated, just for that person's question. Okay. How's everybody doing? We still got a good group here. You know, please, I see some great people joining. If you want to come up on stage, you know, raise your hands, ask questions. I think we kind of got through most of the agenda that I had listed or collected. So there's just one last question that if we want to talk about that I see we could bring up is the direction of Handshake and the focus. One is the traditional domains, you know, working in browser adoption as domain names, more like, I guess, the ICANN path versus the other path, which some people see as like the wallet names, the identities, the username path. Of course, we're trying to do both, but somebody submitted a question: which should we allocate more of our efforts to as a community?
I mean, definitely on the DWeb foundations, and we're really honing in on the browser integrations. That's kind of the gatekeepers of the internet. And so if we're able to break down those doors, then it makes everything, like every other integration, sort of much easier from then on. So that's sort of been our strategy so far. And the other thing is exchange listings. That's important, just to get liquidity up, and you know, the fiat on ramp.
Yeah, I think as far as like when it comes to exchange listings, so you know the utility nature of like Handshake and the architecture of it is technically sophisticated enough that it stands on its own 2 feet, where you don't have to do too much evangelizing to get that to happen. But again, there's nuances around exchange listings, and most of it has to do with like having a large enough reserve for flow. I mean, I don't want to put anybody's business out there, but you know, I've been insisting, like, you know, Namecheap track down Handshake, you know, so that they can fulfill their Handshake, you know, TLD purchases, right? I won't say like, you know, how much or like how often, but often enough where the issue becomes it takes like almost close to a week to get any sort of like sizable amount. And so like, so that's just for one firm trying to make like a bunch of TLD purchases. So imagine an exchange that has millions and millions of users now these days, and they want to, you know, showcase like Handshake to their users. They have a few options. They can either like find a large enough Handshake holder that wants to like lend it to them and like, you know, give them some sort of like basis point like ownership of like, you know, the trades that happen through the network. They could go around like toe-to-toe OTC and compete against all these other individuals that are looking to buy like Handshake. There's just not too many options. So the main option would be to have the main conversation of Handshake be so saturated in the basic foundational information of Handshake, not just Handshake that, oh, you can own decentralized domain names. I mean, we still have people making basic, you know, assumptions about like, oh, like all Handshake names are like go underneath something like .HNS, like root TLD, and you know, other like nonsense like that. Like education is incredibly important, but also like on like the protocol level. So if we can get that much, rest of everything should, again, we've got ICANN running reports about us. We've got some of the largest registrars in the world looking about how to best, defend brands and utilize Handshake. It's happening. So really the issue is just like the saturation of like the user like education, and then the nuances around it, like finding a market maker and someone where they can have like enough reserves to list Handshake. That'll come on its own, and that'll come from like larger players that see that economic opportunity. So I would say like don't focus on that honestly at all, and I emphasize that so much. Like Handshake grows so much faster in the long. Oops, sorry, I cut off for a second. The longer that we have for like individuals to accumulate Handshake before it is on a major exchange too is really beneficial, because when that happens, there's also going to be a major price discovery period between the new pricing of Handshake names, right? Because pricing Handshake names has been all over the place, which is why so much Handshake has been burned to date. But once it becomes a real market ascertainable price, that's going to be a very like up and down like period. And then of course the price of Handshake is going to be, is going to oscillate wildly too. So you're basically, like, when you're pushing for an exchange edition, you're also pushing for Handshake to have to evolve and mature very quickly. And it might not be the best time for that. So I firmly believe that things happen exactly when they're supposed to. The universe is much better at timing than we are. So the best thing for us to do would just be to learn and to educate.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen.
I mean, look, there's an aspect that is not about options that's not contentious, which is Handshake's liquidity problem, right? Everybody knows from the outside that you just can't really get size, and the reason for that is because of the tokenomics. So this is the hill I'm going to die on with Handshake. I'm going to put it out there with all of you, since we're all the most active community members in Handshake right now, which is the fact that like 70% of Handshake supply is currently locked up in unclaimed, like name claim allocation, airdrop allocations, and just like GitHub user allocations, and that's just like stuck completely illiquid on chain. And so the thing that I'm gonna keep hounding about is this idea that I think we as a community should think about a clawback. Clawing back all of that liquidity, which when Handshake was at like 20 to 40 cents, it amounted to about $100 million in value, just stuck on chain in perpetuity until like a huge amount of individuals start claiming those airdrops. And it's been over 2 years, so I think a really low hanging fruit is if we said, yeah, we should probably claw that back. In either we could use that to either fund stuff or do sort of like a rebate style thing back to TLD holders right now, and figure something like that out so that we get circulating supply into the greater economy, and then you could fund the like OTC desks, Coinbases that need some more liquidity. So just gonna put that out there. Think about it. I'm for it. So
I agree.
Oh, sorry, but hit the wrong button. Go ahead, Stephen.
Oh, sorry. So, once the claim period ends for a lot of those TLDs, they're not going to be able to claim their airdrops on chain anymore. And that's an interesting aspect of the token. Well, not even the tokenomics, the crypto economics, because this is core consensus related. Token economics would mean when you're trying to get assets into the actual hands of people's wallets. So things like derivatives and options and things like that. So in this case, it's purely crypto economic driven. There's a difference here. And so the main difference here being is once those names are no longer claimable at the end of that 4-year period for a lot of those, that's a lot of unit asset deflation that's going to happen. And the beauty of it too is because right now there is no clawback. Those names technically are not part of the circulating supply on Handshake. You go to HSD, if you query your node, you'll see that those names don't yet exist on chain. And so when they don't become claimed, that means that's just those are initial individuals that has subsidized access into the Handshake community that no longer have it. When that deflation happens, that value is going to come back into the community almost much more substantial than an asset happening. So we've got like an asset happening, which will have like happen like 3.25 years into the Handshake's launch at 170,000 blocks, and then following from that, we'll have this massive like deflation event that'll happen around like this lack of like claims that are happening on names. So any individuals that didn't come in to get in like early on Handshake, they'll be out. But then now, all the initial TLD owners and Handshake name owners, they should be already more enriched just by that function alone. Like nothing needs to be touched on chain, no new code needs to be written. It just like time just needs to happen, and then effectively like this problem will like solve itself. And again, like when it comes to circulating supply for the asset being listed, that is also just an issue of a function of price discovery. So if Coinbase wants to list Handshake and they can only get their hands on 1 million or 10 million Handshake, that just means there's going to be rampant price discovery and a lot of price volatility before Handshake stops exchanging hands like rapidly. So then effectively our circulating supply will be fixed by the distribution, and the asset is like 1e to the 6, right? These units are divisible, so we don't need to think about circulating supply as like a sheer number thing. It's just a matter of like it being distributed into a larger number of wallets. So with enough like price speculation and enough additional use cases around these actual names, the rest of those problems will effectively like iron themselves out, I feel. Because again, if you start toying with the initial like social contract, then you could effectively cause a lot of atrophy to the general community. The best thing would be to just like sit and wait and let the economics like play out, and then in the meantime think of more effective ways to scale the community. And we just have to think of the community as the same way we do a traditional startup. We have to do a lot of things that don't scale until we find the things that find traction amongst the community that effectively like we can lean into.
Yeah, you're more of an optimist than me. But it would be nice, right? If we're saying that, okay, entities that are just like net value extractors, or at most neutral, they just don't contribute back to the protocol. Like ICANN, for example, the value that they have is to the tune of around $10 million. I think it was $10 million last I checked. What if that value could be returned to the community for us to use in a more productive manner?
Well, then you have the issue of centralized treasury management. You have the issue of centralized roadmap management. You have the issue of centralized developer relations. You have to come up with, specialized like projects or where that money goes. Then, of course, you're going to pay those developers with that HNS on chain. So now you're creating like sell pressure while also controlling an inordinate amount of the assets that are in question here on the circulating supply. So and then you end up in a position that Ethereum Foundation is about to find itself in over the next 2 years when it moves to proof of stake, about just how big of an issue centralized asset distributions are. And I think that Handshake's unique distribution mechanism will continue to shine more greatly and more brightly as those types of issues seek to emerge. It would be dope to have $10 million or $100 million, but if I said right now, there's no real lapse of grant funding and things like that, especially through Handy OSS. We've been very open about giving away money. It's the lack of having enough competent development and developers around that can either produce educational resources or produce something of value that could move the community forward. So you have a whole bunch of muni in a treasury, but we still have we have a funnel issue, not a lack of funding issue per se. So once we can widen that funnel with more proper education and more adept on narrative marketing, then more people will come to the community. Because right now there's so many disjointed narratives coming on. People don't know where to most lend their technical talents or their social capability or their influence. So if we can get that much kind of squared away, then the rest of everything else should start to we should be more clear on what we should do next.
Okay, I'm just going to recap for some people. I don't know if everybody's been able to follow this, but just Chango brought up, I think a lot of people are aware there's a lot of HNS locked for reserved for ICANN, for TLD owners, for GitHub developers. That's still a considerable amount if you look it up. And she seems to be supporting, and I know there's others supporting the idea of clawing that back, or it would create a fork, I believe, a hard fork as well, to then distribute that funds to a foundation or to a group of people that could then maybe grant that to developers or whomever, of course, they choose. And it seems Steve's response is that would create some centralization of those funds, while of course it would be nice to get those funds and use those for the community. How would we decide who gets those funds, and other issues that would maybe actually change the whole system? But those are just 2 points, and I've heard this a lot. It's frustrating though, as a way for me personally, to see these money just locked there on chain. And then it's a little bit scary. What would ICANN do if they claim this money? But anyways, yeah, this is just a discussion that has been brought up a few times, and those are the two sides. So I just want to recap that for those that didn't follow.
Yeah, I mean, right. So when I put my Cosmos hat on, it's just understanding just how much money goes into a project and ensuring its success, and ensuring that these things get listed and integrations happen with other projects. It's just these things cost a lot of money, and it's really non-trivial. And so if the low-hanging fruit is just sitting right there, and obviously people could have different ideas with what to do with the money. It could even be done as a rebate to TLD owners. Anybody who's ever bought a TLD, you get some of that unlocked handshake back. Wouldn't that be a great thing? And then you could use it to fund your own project, which is a handshake project, and it lends itself to the handshake community, in a sort of virtuous cycle, right? Instead of having just that thing locked up there, I think the hope that I had was just to spur a conversation and spur thoughts about this problem.
I see Zipkin just requested to speak. So Matt's obviously very respected here and knowledgeable. Matt, do you have something you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, I just want everybody to start thinking about the possibility of Handshake having a controlled, responsible hard fork. Maybe within a year or 18 months or so. There's the discussion about the reserved name claim period and its time span has, we've been debating that since before mainnet. We talked about making it soft forkable. That didn't happen. There's been lots of talk about how 4 years isn't enough. And to extend that from 4 years to even 4 years in one block, it requires a hard fork. Some people think it should be 8 years. And there's been a lot of discussions about it in different places. So I want everybody to know, the past couple of days I've been working on a very formal proposal for this. And I actually got my laptop in front of me. I'm working on an implementation of a hard fork for Handshake right now. It's actually really, really fun. And I'm going to, I have a HIP, an HIP that is in a draft that's on my computer, and I haven't posted it yet because I want to make sure the implementation isn't stupid yet. But there's a lot of things we need to do. Every single piece of Handshake software will need to upgrade. Every BOP wallet, every exchange, every miner, even fingertip and beacon, because I figured out a way to involve light clients in the hard fork so that they can be on the right side of the fork in case there's any kind of mischief or whatever. And if we decide as a community that Handshake is one of the blockchains that is a hard forking blockchain, such as Zcash, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Monero, that we're comfortable with hard forking, we want to be able to hard fork again in the future, perhaps. So I want to be able to set that up now in such a way that it can be done. So the proposal is going to be formal and published soon, but basically the idea is this. The reserved name list is something like 80 or 90,000 names. Those names actually have flags that were added by the founders in the implementation. So the reserved name list is actually divided into the Alexa top 100,000, and then there's special flags that indicate which of those names are actually ICANN TLD root zone root domains. And then there's another category for top 100 names, which are the 100 top Alexa ranks, plus some additional names JJ threw in, like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Twitter, stuff like that. So, one idea that we had is that the ICANN TLDs and the top 100, those will be hard forked to be claimable for 8 years total, an additional 4 years. But the rest of the Alexa 100K, a lot of these are junk names that we see people just kind of buying them as they expire on ICANN to claim and get their 500 HNS. Those will continue to expire on schedule after 4 years. And then there's also been additional discussion to, let's say, prevent ICANN TLDs from ever being open for auction. Because that's the other thing, is once the reserve name claim period expires, all these names can be open for auction literally at the exact same moment. So there's going to be, right now, if we don't change anything, there will be a block sometime in the future where com, org, info, Apple, Netflix, Facebook, Amazon, Google can all be open for auction in the same block. That is going to be a very exciting time for Handshake. And that might not be something we actually want to experience. So one idea is maybe taking the names that are in the ICANN route and preventing them from ever being opened on chain. That part is actually a soft fork, so we don't have to worry about that right now, especially if we hard fork to this 8 years thing like I'm talking about. 6 or 7 years from now, we can talk about, if not enough ICANN TLDs have claimed, maybe we can permanently block them from the system just to prevent stupid collisions or people fighting over the name com on Handshake, and then we'll have to block that name and fingertip and beacon because we don't want some Handshake whale to buy com on Handshake and divert all the traffic, divert all that traffic. So that stuff is all open for discussion. I've just kind of collected a lot of discussions that have already existed and trying to formalize it into one piece of code that works. Stuff that Django was saying about diverting funds from ICANN's airdrop to whatever developer fund or back to TLD owners, that's interesting. And if the community is all for it, and by which I mean literally all, unanimously, consensus all for it, we can add that to this hard fork too. It's a lot of interesting stuff to think about. Rules like that start to add a lot of complexity. And then if you want to divert money to somebody else, that's a point of centralization maybe. If there could be a lot of people just buying a bunch of junk TLDs at the last minute at crazy high prices, knowing that they're going to get HNS back from this diverted ICANN thing. We got to think about the game theory about diverting that money back. Anyway, I think a hard fork is on the table, and we should discuss it as a community. We all have to agree, and there'll be a more formal place for everybody to voice their opinion on what the actual protocol rules will be soon, maybe this week. And that's all I got to say. Thanks, Mike. Great discussion so far. You guys are all great.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks so much. Yeah, we all appreciate what you do for the Handshake community and with the developers and everything. So thank you. Django, any thoughts on that?
Sorry.
I was just wondering if you had a response or thought of that, of what Matt said.
Yes. Thank you, Zippy. So, just to add to that, it's, the thing is that time essence, if there ever was a time that we wanted to get a hard fork in, it's kind of the early stages before we have amounts of exchange listings and, 10 different levels of thing that need to upgrade once a hard fork happens. Right now it's still relatively small and manageable, so that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it does sound exciting. I mean, it's I'm excited to read the proposals Matt's putting together, and it'll probably be posted on GitHub. I know there's a lot of people here, even myself, that are not too familiar with GitHub, but I think that's, he mentioned HIP, which is Handshake Improvement Protocol proposal, which is where we can read about changes in the blockchain protocol itself and give comments and others. So I believe that's where that will be posted, and we can all review. Okay, we're getting towards the 2-hour mark. I was thinking an hour, but it's been definitely worth the extra time. And again, this has been recorded. It says it 5 times on my Twitter right now. So it's being recorded. We posted it, and we'll also try to edit it. I think also Django mentioned a service or a person that will help us too, but we'll also do it as best on our side. Getting great feedback from the community already on this session, and maybe we'll start to wrap up. Is there some last points anybody here would like to bring up?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment on Zipkin's hard fork proposal idea. It's important that a community that's strives for decentralization can also prove that it can self-coordinate to the point where it can make important technical upgrades to the core protocol to consensus. When and where necessary, when is most sensible, right? Bitcoin does it. There's no reason why Handshake should be an ossified thing, right? So if Zipkin's seeking to make a suggestion that is limited in technical scope, right? That one pushes some ball down the line just a little bit longer for certain TLD claims, like the top 100, something like that. That makes sense, and then also signals that Handshake is a real community that can formally kind of make these upgrades and can be sensible, and of course doing it small right now too. Of course, keeping scope low. Again, like Zipkin said, you open up all this sort of Sybil, attack vectors if you're going to do some sort of rebate or retroactive reward or whatever, and that's a whole bag of worms that you probably want to avoid. So for the scope of a first upgrade, we want it to be very small, and we want to be able to prove hey, okay, so we can have the scope of this technical change, enough of kind of the meritocratic sort of emergent leadership that is in the community that is technically adept enough to say, hey, yeah, this makes sense. The scope is limited. It is a net benefit overall to the protocol. We can unanimously decide this is the way forward. I think that's an important exercise. Again, to prove what Handshake's been able to do for the past 2.5-ish years now, and I'd be excited to see what that proposal looks like.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephen. As always, appreciate your experience and insights. I see a new person came up on stage requested, and I see Miguel. If you have something to say, you can feel free. Gamer, gamer. Maybe Chris let this gamers person share. I'm not familiar with who they are, but if they have their hand raised, would you like to say something?
Yes. How's it going? I'm fairly good, and on TLD. Some HNS, and I'm picking up on the terminology on how you guys are speaking as far as the language. So, as a gamer, I don't necessarily build, protocols or all these things that you guys are expressing about what's going on for the future. So I just want to pose a question as far as someone that can help, because I know that Namer Tips said something about a magazine, which I'm interested in because I'm not sure on how things are, being produced. So I just want some insight from a gamer who spend most of his time gaming. How can he take his TLDs to the next level and input gaming into the HNS system?
Okay, I mean, well, he mentioned Namer Tips. Chris is here. I do somewhat apologize a little bit because I feel like we're a little bit more of an advanced Twitter space. We didn't really go into the 101s, and we just dove into some kind of specific topics today. So it isn't really it's almost like an advanced session, I would say, today. So we made a lot of assumptions to listeners that know a bit about Handshake already. But Chris, do you want to give them some insights here?
Well, I think that this is a moment that I want to go ahead and on behalf of the team, I want to extend an invite to everyone, because we don't portray ourselves to know everything that's going on, but everyone has made some very, very solid points, and the thing that continues to come to mind is bridge. So we want to encourage anyone, any projects that you're working on, any ideas that you want to go ahead and have covered that are in the segment of education entertainment / creativity or empowerment, please forward those to us so that we can be in the know and we can go ahead and factor what it is that you're doing into the version of narrative that we're looking to present. It's not for ourselves. It's just to provide that introduction card from our standpoint, because we don't speak for everyone, but we feel like, putting something out there that says, hey, these are some things that are going on in this sector, because like I think Gamers Audio, please pardon the butchering of the name, that the question that they posed is from the segment of education, but it also falls in the realm of entertainment and creativity. But then the question that was posed also links to empowerment. I think all three of those things, or four of those things, are very important. So we welcome anyone. Please do not be shy. Reach out to us if you have something that you're working on. It doesn't have to be long and elaborate. You can just say, hey, we're working on this. These are the breakdown details, and then we'll make sure that if it's something that we're going to include, we'll reach out to you and make sure that you are quoted properly, and everything that you're doing is conveyed in a way that not only people within the community can, take a hold to, but individuals who are looking to come into the community.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Also, the Shake.xyz, the domain, I think he's even here listening. Zach Brown and others do an amazing job every week trying to... There's just so much happening in Handshake, so it's really hard to keep up. And today's session, we cannot, obviously, it's not even in 2 hours possible to really go through the technicalities or the options, but it's still very early. I think, as Stephen mentioned, it's over 2 years now, 2.5 years that the blockchain's been in mainnet, but they're still very, very early. So that means, of course, it's not as many easy plug-and-play uses for your names. Like maybe you bought some TLDs of around gaming. But the idea is, of course, people can use those as names, usernames maybe in the games. Maybe that's one idea. It's still a bit early for that, but hopefully soon. Others, of course, sell domains that people could use as usernames. There's lots of use cases coming, but it's still, unfortunately, I know you're excited as I am to get these into mass adoption. We're still early before Crossing the Chasm is a good book to read. It's an old one, but a good one. We're still not yet crossed the chasm to mainstream adoption. But of course, if that happens, all of us here involved will be rewarded. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I think we should start to wrap up by a couple little bit of announcements. Next week we'll have, I think it's, Ann helps a lot, at least our 13th or 14th or 15th monthly Flamingo Handshake auction. We already got some great emojis. We try our best to do like premium single emojis and other premium names. So I think we've got at least a handful already confirmed in escrow. It's a day later than today, same time starting. So flamingohandshake.com, you can register, totally free. It's also a little bit of a fun thing too, not just for auctions. You can hang out. So that's an announcement. Also, I'm working with Agaman Sajan. He couldn't make it in India. It's pretty early, but I'm using his service to make a registrar at SkyInclude, my podcast and blog here. And I'm going to give away 25 SLDs. Also, maybe if you opt in, you could be a beta user and give me feedback. But we have a coupon code. I'm going to find it. I'm not good at promoting my stuff. Anne's pushing me to remind it. I made a coupon code. If you go to skyinclude.com and then register a domain, Twitter space 622, which is June 22nd, you'll get it totally for free for 25 of the first people register. And if you can share some feedback too. So that's just a little bonus for anybody that made it through this 2 hours. Get a free domain. .evening and .missy are the TLDs for that. And that's my main points. But I'm really motivated. I love these things. I see some great people in the audience. We can keep going if you'd like. It's a 2 hour mark, so I feel like we covered quite a bit already. But please give any feedback. I hope this was helpful to everybody. It definitely motivated me, and I think that's the point. It's just we're a open permissionless blockchain, and anybody could organize these Twitter spaces. Anybody could start their own registrar, can do anything they want, which is beautiful to me. So thank you everybody for being here.
Question for you, Mike.
Yes, go ahead, Chango. I'd love to hear it.
Would TLD owners be able to, I guess, for lack of a better word, stake with your registrar and allow people to get domains off of them?
Sure. So I'm also learning the domain world, but as I'm being a registrar right now, like the front end, and then registry is kind of the back end in the old domain space. And I could help set up be a registry, so I could allow other TLD owners to sell through our registrar. As we've heard at the beginning of this call, there's obviously centralized business that needs to be settled with agreements and contracts. I already have done that, started to do that for some people I know really well, and we have to, of course, just figure out how to stake, how to custodian that TLD to make sure we don't have any rug pooling of SLD owners that were to buy. So for right now, the TLDs are in a Bob wallet, and there's no multi-sig, although I have heard people say there's multi-sig Bob wallet. No, not CLI right now, not Bob wallet, but CLI. I think Matt mentioned this, I read somewhere. But basically, I'm open to that. I don't have an exact arrangement or agreement, but I'm also doing I'm sharing some of the proceeds with Agamin because they're kind of my back end partner. But basically, short answer is yes, I'm open to that. I don't have a staking or rooting program in place, but I guess it would be something like at the minimum like a fair revenue share, and some fair way to make sure that we escrow the TLDs for the safety of the SLD customer or registrant. Okay. And again, I did it totally public. I made YouTube videos of the major steps that we did to build it, and it was really cool because I saw people building based on the videos that I made. So I started making it totally public when I saw this whole name base gateway issue. So I just people don't need to wait for like Namecheap to approve your TLD. Of course it would be great to sell your domains on Namecheap. They're the number 2 biggest registrar globally, but you don't have to wait. You can, of course, talk to me and SkyInclude or Anne to stake with us or others. You could build your own registrar. I think that's, to me, what I see is Handshake not waiting for Namecheap or Namebase to update their program, in my opinion. And then Miguel's raising his hand. Go ahead, Miguel.
It's just a quick question to Matt. I don't know if he's here or what. When you do a fork of the blockchain, what happens with the owners of TLDs? Are they affected? Because I'm talking from the ignorance in that point, but I just want to know it.
Yeah, he's not. He seems like he's not here. I see some other qualified people, but Chango's probably really qualified to answer that. But the quick answer is of course, they could interrupt your TLDs, but it won't. But maybe Chango feels like most qualified to answer that, in my opinion, if you're able to, Chango.
Yeah, so hard fork mostly affects things at a protocol level, not really at an app level. So materially, what it would look like is, your registrar or whoever you're hosting, or your self-custody wallet, whoever has your TLD needs to upgrade, and then once they upgrade their software to the new software, then it's everything's just business as usual. So to the user, nothing materially changes, but it's just a change in the protocol. And when there's unanimous consensus over a hard fork like that, usually it's just waiting for like miners and exchanges and wallets to upgrade their software, and then they're on the new chain, and then there's going to be like a Handshake Classic, and then they're just going to deprecate that Handshake Classic.
Oh yeah, thank you, brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Thanks, pardons. I think think that it's important to second what you were talking about with the creating your own registry and registrar, and being a TLD owner, not being afraid to consider or embrace a new registry or registrar model. I think that some TLD owners might be a little bit apprehensive, but you have to keep in mind this is uncharted territory. So because it's uncharted territory, you don't have to stay within the bounds of how you perceive things should work. You have the developers and the individuals who are privy to how the protocol functions, and they are there. I mean, many of them, just to not give away too much, but in the upcoming publication, there's a article about the developers bubble, because the developers are very, 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 very essential pieces to this whole situation, and they're available. Many of them, we haven't spoken to all of them, but I'm pretty confident that many of them are available to answer your questions and encourage you to think outside of the bounds of, okay, I have to wait for this person in order to list this. And just one more point, think about what the intent is for your SLDs. The common approach is to stake a TLD, or in some cases rooted, stake a TLD rooted, and then sell SLDs. And in no way are we against that, but we also understand that there's so many more ways to approach the dynamic of offering SLDs, how many you offer, under what circumstances, during what time frame, all of these different things to think about. So, we just want to encourage everyone, channel your creativity, think beyond the bounds of what you know in terms of how, the conventional domain buying experience is. And we believe that will open up the doorway to doing a lot of different things, all the way down to, like Mike said, having your own registry or registrar, and it's not out of your reach.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. It's really, that's what's the beautiful thing I think about Handshake is also there's, to even build on that more, like it's about a community, right? And then there's like Agaman, I mentioned, Sajjan is India. He's mostly focused on the India market. A lot of his TLDs are in Hindi or Hindu language. Hopefully I said it correctly, but you can make a local registrar in your local language, your local community, your local currency, or like we have Cameron here making a sports registry. So I'm not sure if he'll allow other TLD owners to stake there or not. It's his business decision, but then he will have people that support Dallas Cowboys can buy a Dallas Cowboys SLD and maybe can log in to membership sites. And another one that Chango's got me excited about is like maybe issuing your own tokens. Like she mentioned about the Ethereum ICOs in 2017 and people issuing their own tokens to raise funds for their community. Imagine you could do the same. I'm still early stages maybe with SkyInclude. If you register a domain, you'll maybe be able to opt to get airdropped a token, right? Like, so then people are not just owning a domain, but they're actually like part of this community and have ownership in it. So yeah, let's be creative about how we do these things. Go ahead, Django.
Yeah, I'm strongly, I know that there's a strong culture of, gifting and altruism, gift economy in Handshake, but, I'm a total capitalist and completely believe in financial incentives. And so, if we're able to prove that people can make money, and not just money, but a lot of money, like building startups and sub-level domain kind of things on Handshake, that's just going to be the catalyst that drives a lot of short-term adoption. So, why would someone like you, Mike, put so much time and energy, or Cameron, put so much time and energy in like a sports thing if all it is fueled by is altruism? You need financial incentives to come and just sustain you and give you a runway for the next couple of years. And so that's what really made Ethereum successful, and I think that as long as Handshake is decentralized at the root, which it is, any sort of design and architecture on top of it through SLDs, could be on like a centralized provider or decentralized. It could be on Ethereum, or it could be, on Namecheap, like a centralized registrar. So it's just like the possibilities are endless, and if we really, hit that message home, then other people are going to realize that they could make money off of this, and hopefully one of them succeeds, and then that becomes like a killer app of Handshake, and then that gets it mass adoption.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know what name to pronounce him, XN Hunter came up on stage or requested. Do you have something?
That's Taylor.
I know it is, but I don't know. I always
That's
wonder.
Taylor. I told you could just say my name, dude.
Okay, sorry. There's a lot of anoms here. I don't know who's not. Well, okay, Taylor. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Hey everyone. So we're building a wallet called NameLayer. And yeah, I'm just here to tell you guys it's in the works. Jackie from KyoCon is advising us on it. But we only have one dev, Casey, so we're kind of aiming for the fall to release it. And yeah, some of the stuff, Mike, you requested about alerts for when a name's expiring, when it's ending, when you have to renew it, etc. We've thought of a lot of that, so we hope when we release it, a lot of the UI things TLD owners might want, we have addressed or tried to at least. But as we iterate, definitely open to feedback once it's launched. But yeah, just sharing that we're doing that. And then you guys were talking about like TLDs issuing tokens. We haven't talked really about the token or anything, but we really hope that the wallet evolves into a platform that could, once the day comes when you could fractionalize domains, we imagine people fractionalizing up, a small percentage to the platform, and then maybe that kind of is what helps fund its growth and other ventures, and maybe even the core protocol. And NameLayer will be unique in some ways. Myself and several others I know really focused on a certain genre of TLDs, like single Unicode characters like emojis and glyphs and whatnot. So we think it will be set itself apart from any other competitor. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going with everything.
Awesome, Taylor. Thanks for sharing that. I'm excited to see it too. Yeah, there's just like a lot. Like Taylor and I chatted, and I'm glad he's sharing more about it because everybody's building. There's a lot of builders here, and it's very it's like Chris talked about education, but yeah, there's not enough hype. Like I'm not good at. I'm trying my best with these Twitter Spaces, but I'm not. There's not like these influencers pumping and. Because they're all building. It's amazing. It's beautiful to see this. So thank you, Taylor, for that.
It is. It's really beautiful. You're a bridge in and of yourself. And, I think I speak in concert with, the sentiment that a lot of individuals in this talk share with regard to the work that you do. You're a middle ground for a lot of communications, and just on behalf of our team and others who share our viewpoint, we just want to go ahead and we want to thank you. I mean, just sitting here listening, we're becoming more informed about what's happening within the community. All of the ideas and all of the projects that are being worked on right now, these are things that need to be discussed, and they need to be put in the forefront and put on the table for individuals to discover, because there's one issue that you run into. Once something gets to a point where it's ready to launch, you really don't have the room to work back and readjust because everything is already fixed. And so when I hear about Cameron's sports registry, I mean, that type of thing, but that type of project, XN, I know I butchered the name, but your project, your team's project, there's so many wonderful things, but there needs to be a place where those things can be found, because the Discord, it's a bit tricky to navigate, and then you have other platforms. So it would be great. That's what we're hoping to bring to the table, and our emphasis is education. And a lot of the TLDs that we own are education based. So that's where our focus is. So if in the future you guys hear or see the name or tips check, you already know, okay, that's something educational based, so we can expect that to come from that. But thank you, Mike. Thank all of you all. Appreciation and reciprocation is something that we're really big on, and a lot of people have been, in our opinion, in our viewpoint, they've been abusing the community concept, and we're not really too fond of the youth leveraging community to rug pull people and leave people in distress, because we believe that if this continues to happen down the road, people will view community as a toxic term, and Handshake has the ability to literally flip that over, reinvigorate what it means. Everyone supporting one another, but everyone has their own proverbial ecosystem. So thank you everybody.
Thanks, Chris. I think that's a great way to wrap up today. I see some great people in the audience. I'm trying to include everybody, but we'll keep improving these, and this is recorded. I think we'll just post the recording directly on Twitter after, and we will also probably have it professionally cleaned up a bit and posted in the days to come. So thank you everybody, and I learned a few new things and got inspiration as well. So let's just keep doing it. And we're obviously in a bear market, not just Handshake but the whole ecosystem. But I think that's a time for people to build and reflect and update. I'm excited to hear about Zipkin's fork proposal. I'll be reviewing that when it's ready, and let's just keep an open mind and keep helping each other. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mike, for putting this on.
Thank you to everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Taylor, Miguel, Django. It's